You are welcome to another episode of SMS Cost Accounting Lectures. My name is Sadat Mohammed Souye. In our last lecture, we learned about the differences between cost accounting and management accounting, as well as financial accounting and management accounting. With this one we have learned, what it has done to us is that it has now equipped us to be able to now appreciate the differences between these three branches, i.e., cost accounting, financial accounting, and management accounting. As I said in the last lecture, we are going to be looking at some terminologies associated with cost accounting. Now, by the end of this lecture, what do we intend to achieve? 1. We intend to be able to state at least 9 terminologies that are used in cost accounting. We should be able to explain at least 6 terminologies used in cost accounting. Like I said earlier, terminologies means terms, words, phrases that are used in a particular area. So in order to understand it very well, you need to appreciate and know what this terminology or what this word mean when we say it in that particular subject area. It is not different in cost accounting. In cost accounting, there are several terminologies, but today we are going to address a few of them. The first terminology, and that is the most widely used terminology you'll be seeing, is a cost center. When we say a cost center, what do we mean? So a cost center simply is referring to a person. It could be a location to which we can ascertain cost from. So if a watchman in your factory or a security guard in your factory, a sales personnel, that is accurate, or we can ascertain cost from that person, then we say that person is a cost center. If it is a department where a cost is incurred, therefore we can get cost from there, we can say that department is what? A cost center. If it is an equipment that is generating cost, such cost is, or such equipment is seen as what? A cost center. So a cost center is seen to be defined as a location. In this location, we are talking about either a department, it could be a production area, it could be a sales area, an item of equipment, a person. And a person could be a salesman, a security man, a machine operator. These are all persons. Or a group of these to which cost can be ascertained for the purposes of cost control. We shall be looking at the meaning of ascertain very soon to know what cost ascertainment means. But that is a cost center. So a cost center simply is a location. It's an item of equipment. Or it could be a group of all these combined in order for us to be able to determine or ascertain costs. And why do we ascertain costs? For the purposes of cost control. These are key terms that you will learn later on. Cost control and cost ascertainment. The next terminology is cost unit. A cost unit is normally seen as the unit of measuring cost. We say we have in mathematics or in science, they have unit of measurements. Alright. So under cost accounting, the units what we use to measure costs are referred to as cost unit. So we say that it is a unit of a quantity of a product, a service, or a time in relation to which cost may be ascertained. So it's a unit that we use to measure cost. To throw more light on it, let's see some examples of what cost units. Cost units normally, for example, a school. If you take a school for example, there's a unit that we use to measure the cost of a school. What do you think it will be? You are right, a student. So a student is the cost unit in measuring the cost of a school. Let's take a look at more examples. Now, with the educational sector, we are talking about a student as the cost unit. If you come to the hospital or a hotel, we are talking about room per day. Room per day. So the room that we are using that people are coming to sleep there, we can use the cost of it as a cost unit in measuring the cost of the hotel. Then we are talking about electricity. Electricity, you have kilowatt hour. So you buy electricity, you see that they write the quantity of kilowatt hours you have there. So 500 kilowatt hour. So 1 kilowatt hour is used as the cost unit. That is the cost unit. It is used to measure the cost of electricity you are consuming. Are you following that? Then we are talking about a paper. We can use a RAM to measure the cost of a paper. We are talking about a hospital, the inpatient bed, inpatient per bed. So in hospital, when we say an inpatient, it means someone who has gone to the hospital and has been admitted. Okay, so he's there, he's accommodated, he's sleeping there. So that's an inpatient bed. Outpatients are those that visit and return home. All right, yes. So we are talking about transport, and the transport we are measuring using what we call mileage. The number of miles it covers. So in every mile, what is the cost? So that is the cost unit for it. So these are examples of cost units. Now let's move to the next terminology, which is what? Unit cost. A unit cost, take note of it. It is the total cost involved in making 1 unit of an item. So if I make the cost of producing 1 unit of an item is the unit cost. So a unit cost of a pencil, the cost of producing 1 pencil is a unit cost. The cost of producing 1 exercise book is a unit cost. Don't confuse it with a cost unit, all right? So we are saying that it is the total expenditure incurred in producing 1 unit of a product. So producing 1 exercise book, 1 pen, a marker, okay? So any commodity that you are producing, the costs of producing just 1 unit, the total cost of producing it is what we call the unit cost. But when we say a cost unit, we are referring to the unit of measuring cost. And I gave an example on that one as well. All right. Yes. So now let's take another look at cost as attainment. You have heard it before. So when we say cost as attainment, what do we mean? So cost as attainment simply is referring to the processes or the methods that we use to determine cost. So the process of calculating, the process of determining the cost of a particular product, the cost of a service, the cost of an activity is what we say cost as attainment. Are you following that? So the process of computing or determine the actual cost incurred in a product, a service, or a process, then we say it is a what? Cost as attainment. Okay? Yes. Now let's move to the next one, which is cost allocation. When we say cost allocation, what do we mean? To allocate means to give it to this person. So this is yours. I have given the cost to you. So when we assign, we give the whole item of cost, the whole expenditure made to a particular cost center or a particular cost unit, we are allocating. Now you know what the cost center is and the cost unit is. So the cost center, we are saying it could be a location, a person. The cost unit, you know, a unit of measuring cost. When we allocate, we assign the whole item of the cost that have been incurred to a particular cost unit or a cost center. What we are doing is what we call cost allocation. Are you with me? Okay. Now, costs. Another terminology is what? Cost apportionment. To apportion means simply to share. To share. So to spread. So we are sharing or we are spreading, then we say you are apportioning. So cost apportionment is when we share costs. We share costs, we spread costs among cost centers, among cost units. Alright? Then we are saying we are doing cost apportionment. So let's say you are staying in a compound house, you have 1 meter with 3 people staying there. So the electricity bill comes in, and let's say it is 100 Ghana cedis. We are going to share that 100 Ghana cedis among the various cost centers or cost units. So the households there refers to the cost centers or the cost units. Are you following that? So when we do that, we are saying we are doing cost apportionment. So in organizations, we do share cost among cost centers or cost units. So the spreading of cost over 2 or more cost units or accounts or even time periods, we are apportioning. So we can even apportion between the cost 2021, 2022. Now the next one is cost accumulation. Accumulate means to put together. Okay, so when we are collecting cost data in order to ascertain the cost, the total cost of an activity, then we are saying we are accumulating costs. Okay, we are collecting cost data, we gather them, we put it together so that we can ascertain the cost incurred in the entire activity. When it's done, then we are saying we are doing cost what? Accumulation. Okay, so cost accumulation, that is it. Now the next one is cost control. Cost control. When we say cost control, to control simply means we are trying to compare our actuals against our budgets to see any difference that are coming in. So that's how control is all about. So you are controlling. How do you control it? This is what I told you to do. Is that what you are doing? So in simple terms, cost control means when we ensure that the cost of the organization do not exceed the budgeted cost, then we are doing cost control. We have set limits for our budgets. We have set targets for ourselves. We call them budgets. When we ensure that the cost incurred in the organization does not exceed this budget, and we regulate it within set limits, what we are doing is what? Cost control. Are you following the concept? So you see that the concepts are very interesting concepts. Alright? Let's go take a look at that next one. The next one is what we call cost reduction. So the difference between cost control and cost reduction. So what is the difference? Okay, it's not quite let me say the difference is slight, but there are some differences associated with it. So we want to look at cost reduction. So with the cost reduction, here it's about to reduce means to bring something down, to cut it. Are you following that? So cost reduction simply is talking about removing all the unnecessary costs associated with a particular activity or product or service without impairing the quality of the product. So here the reducing is not just about cutting down the cost, no, but you are taking out those costs that you can do without. That's why we say unnecessary costs. Those costs we can do without, that will not impair the quality of the product. That's the cost you can do without. If there's a cost that if I don't incur it, I'll still be able to produce the commodity of the required quality or the service at the required quality, then you can take that cost out, and that is cost reduction. So when we are in the process of removing unnecessary expenses from a business, increase profit without having a negative impact on the product quality, then we say we are doing cost reduction. Okay? Yes. So that is cost reduction. Let's look at cost audit. We have heard audit before. To audit, it is a normal thing that we're hearing. Auditing is all about independently verifying to find out whether what they are saying, the assertion they are making is true or not. So in cost audit, what we are doing is that we are rather verifying our costs accounts. We are trying to determine, okay, and check whether these costs data we are gathering, they are an adherence to the cost accounting plan. So the cost accounting plan could be in the form of budgets. Are you following that? So we want to ensure what you are saying, is it true? Is it the actual cost? Then we are doing that, we are saying we are doing cost audit. So the emphasis here is costs. We are auditing, we are verifying our cost books. Are you following that? Then let's take a look at the next terminology. The next terminology is cost estimation. To estimate means to predict, to preempt, to make an assumption. Then we are estimating. So in simple terms, cost estimation is the process of predetermining the cost of a product or service. So when you begin to predict the cost, the future cost of a product, you preempt, you predetermine the cost of a product or a service, you are doing what we call cost estimation. Are you with me? Let's take a look at the next one. Cost object. Cost object. What is a cost object? An object is what? Science, you know what an object is. It's just something, anything that is existing. So we can say this is an object. It could be living or non-living. So it's considered an object. So anything that is accruing cost for us, where we can determine cost from it, we call it under costing as a cost object. So if you are accruing cost to us, you are a cost object. So anything for which a separate measurement of costs may be required, that is a cost object. Okay? Yes, we need to ascertain the costs on it. That is a cost. So this is what we want to measure the cost on. You become the cost object. If you want to measure the cost on you as a person, you become the cost object. Are you following that? This we want to ascertain your cost separate from the other cost we are determining. So that's the cost object. Now we look at our final term, which is the cost driver. What is a cost driver? Cost drivers are activities which causes cost to be incurred. So to drive means they are making the cost to move. So if it means that you can use cost drivers to reduce or increase cost. Are you following that? So they are the drivers of cost. They move the cost. They cause the cost to be incurred. They cause the cost to happen. Then we say these are the cost drivers. So it's like, let's say for example, you are in your house, you are using electricity. The driver of your electricity is the kind of items you are using. So if you are using only mobile phone to charge your laptop and maybe use a bulb, then another person is using all these you are using, including a fridge, a television, blenders, and washing machine. So that the person will pay more than you because the person's cost drivers are high. Okay, the activity that causes the cost to be incurred are the cost drivers. So these are the activities that are causing you to incur more cost. All right. In business setup, let's take a look at some of these things. So business function, we are looking at the production center. So the production center, we can lose something like number of machine setup. So under the production center, number of machine setup can be a cost driver. It will be the cost driver. Another one could be the number of machine hours. How many hours have the machine worked? So the more the machine works, the more the cost. The lower it works, the lower the cost. So it's a driver of cost of production. Then we are looking at the number of units produced. So the more you produce units, the more the cost. The lower the units produced, the lower the cost. So it becomes a cost driver. Okay, that's for production. Let's look at customer service. If you are in the customer service center, what is the cost driver? So the number of service calls. How many service calls have you been able to make? This is the cost driver of what? The customer service. Then we can take a look at the number of products serviced. How many products have you serviced? If you service one product, it will not be as compared to servicing 15 products. So the number of products serviced is also a cost driver to customer service. Then we can look at the number of hours spent on servicing. I spent 15 hours on servicing this commodity, and another instance we spent 2 hours in servicing one commodity. There definitely will be a difference in cost. So the number of hours you spend on servicing becomes a driver. Okay, it causes that particular cost to be incurred, either to change, to increase, or to decrease. So these are some of the terminologies that we've learned today. So what did we learn today? We've learned about terminologies in cost accounting. We learned about cost center. We said that it is a location, a department. It could be a person, and an item of equipment to which we can ascertain cost for the purposes of cost control. We've also learned about cost units, and we said cost units are normally the unit we use to measure cost. So we gave examples that in educational setup, we can use the student as a unit of measuring cost. With electricity, we can use the kilowatt hour to measure the cost. Then we look at unit cost, and we say unit cost is the total expenditure incurred in producing just one unit of a commodity. Okay? Yes. So we went ahead to look at other cost as attainment. We say the process of determining the cost of an activity. When you are calculating costs, when you are calculating the costs, the processes or the methods used arrive at the cost. It's a cost as attainment. Then we say cost allocation, when we assign the whole item of cost to a particular cost center or a particular cost unit, then we are doing what? Cost allocation. With the apportionment, it's about the sharing of the cost. This one, you're not giving the whole thing, but you are sharing it among cost center, among accounts. Then we are doing cost apportionment. We've looked at what a cost object is. We've looked at what a cost driver is. And I believe that you have learned a lot from today's lecture. From now, I'm sure when you hear some of these terminologies, it will not be strange to you. You'll be able to explain them in details. Therefore, in our next lecture, what will you intend to do? We will now have to go into look at what a cost accounting system is. What is the meaning of a cost accounting system? We will also be looking at the characteristics of a costing system. What are the characteristics? What are the features of a costing system? So remember, costing system is the same as a cost accounting system. Then the purposes of a costing system, the factors to consider in installing a cost accounting system, and then cost accounting information and qualities of a good cost accounting information. What makes cost accounting information, it's good. We want to know that. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for today's lecture, and until we meet again, have a wonderful time. Goodbye.